The podcast opens by challenging conventional wisdom surrounding wealth creation, especially the advice to get a job, earn money, and buy a house with a mortgage. According to the guests, this age-old guidance is fundamentally flawed in today's economic context. Purchasing property with a mortgage can leave future selves poorer because it ties up capital while interest payments drain resources. More critically, many people remain trapped in the mindset of simply saving money in bank accounts, a guaranteed losing game due to inflation outpacing interest returns. Savings sitting idle in banks are eroding purchasing power daily, ensuring individuals gradually become poorer despite accumulating nominal wealth. This thinking about saving contrasts with the more aggressive but necessary approach of investing to harness compound returns. They stress that while saving money is a conventional financial habit, it's often detrimental when not paired with investment strategies. Instead of stagnating as savers, people should embrace investing, even in small amounts, to build wealth over time and protect against inflation. This discomfort with investing stems from fear, misunderstanding, and a lack of education, which the podcast aims to address. A recurring theme is the importance of discipline and mindset among the wealthy versus the average person. Wealthy individuals are depicted as those who practice consistent financial habits, invest wisely, and think long-term. The average person, however, tends to prioritize discretionary spending on short-lived pleasures like streaming subscriptions over their investments. This behavioral discrepancy fuels the wealth gap. The guests encourage listeners to leverage unique personal skills to generate additional income streams. By identifying individual talents that exceed others' abilities, be it sports expertise, marketing knowledge, or any other niche skill, people can monetize their strengths, creating avenues for supplementary earnings. This mindset goes hand in hand with networking. Surrounding oneself with ambitious, financially motivated individuals can amplify growth trajectories. The value of community is emphasized not just for friendship, but as a multiplier of opportunity, motivation, and access to financial resources. Managing money, especially debt and investments, is as much a psychological challenge as a financial one. The podcast delves deeply into widespread avoidance of financial reality, revealing that a significant portion of Americans, and especially younger generations, are scared to even check their bank accounts. This avoidance, fueled by stress and stigma, extends to debt, leading many to defer dealing with pressing issues until they become crises, such as mortgage arrears or high-interest credit card debt spiraling out of control. Social pressure compounds these challenges. Many feel they must keep up by spending to appear affluent, further complicating honest budgeting and financial planning. The conversation underscores the importance of emotional intelligence in money management. Recognizing psychological pitfalls, managing fear, avoiding impulsive decisions, and developing financial confidence through knowledge. Simply tracking expenses and building awareness is a critical first step, providing a clear starting point to shift behaviors and escape cycles of denial. The podcast dedicates a significant portion of the discussion to demystifying investment strategies, particularly contrasting passive index investing with more involved active investing. Passive investment, especially in the S&P 500, is championed for most people as the prudent choice, given that over the long term, passive funds outperform the majority of active managers after fees. The power of consistently investing small amounts over decades through dollar-cost averaging explains the historic accumulation of wealth many overlook. Nevertheless, the allure of active investing persists for those willing to put in the research and withstand volatility. Here, the guests detail the potential benefits if done correctly, including the possibility of achieving higher-than-average returns, but caution is given regarding emotional discipline amid market dips, highlighting the record renewals the Nasdaq and Bitcoin have undergone after major crashes. Bitcoin's meteoric returns are emphasized as unparalleled, but with caveats about extreme volatility and risk. The technology behind cryptocurrency, its intrinsic reliance on social consensus, and the prospect of blockchain as the evolution of the internet form the basis of its valuation argument. Still, the risks, regulatory, technological, and psychological, mean that Bitcoin is positioned as a speculative asset to be held in moderation within a diversified portfolio, not as a doped-up all-in bet for most investors. One of the most sobering segments discusses the looming retirement crisis, especially in Western countries. The traditional pension or social security system is framed as a failing model. Baby boomers and retirees are currently funded by working generations, but declining birth rates and increased life expectancy mean fewer workers supporting more retirees. This demographic imbalance threatens sustainability, with governments resorting to printing more money, further diluting the real value of payouts. The guests reveal common misconceptions about pensions, such as the belief that they are guaranteed, sufficient for retirement, or entirely tax-free. They highlight the shift from defined benefit to defined contribution plans, meaning that retirement security now hinges on individual investment performance rather than guaranteed payouts. Ultimately, the average 401k balance is insufficient for a comfortable retirement, which necessitates modern strategic planning, including alternative investment strategies, disciplined saving, and setting attainable financial independence goals, such as Coastfire. This entails reaching an investment threshold that allows one to stop actively contributing, yet still retire comfortably by letting compound interest work its magic until traditional retirement age. The topic of renting as an alternative to owning property receives critical examination. Contrary to conventional wisdom that renting is throwing money away, the podcast explains that buying a house in today's environment, especially with rising mortgage interest rates and escalating property costs, may not be the best financial move for many, particularly younger people. Upfront costs, years of paying mostly interest rather than building equity, and ongoing expenses like property taxes and insurance erode the net benefit of homeownership. There's also recognition that flexibility, liquidity, and reduced maintenance overhead make renting an appealing option, especially in expensive real estate markets where rental demand is rising. The podcast even points out a growing trend of millionaires renting rather than owning homes, valuing freedom over asset accumulation. The guests caution against treating a primary residence as an investment vehicle, since meaningful equity is only realized upon selling, which is infrequent for most. The advice is pragmatic: buy a home if it suits you and your lifestyle, but don't bank on it for wealth creation. Debt is portrayed as a double-edged sword. While some debt can be productive, like mortgages or loans used for business or real estate investments, excessive consumer debt, especially high-interest credit cards and personal loans, is corrosive. The show highlights how many people live under the burden of unmanageable debt, with interest payments that consume large portions of their income, sometimes higher than their salary, creating a vicious cycle. The panelists debunk myths about leveraging investments irresponsibly, especially in volatile assets like cryptocurrencies, where borrowing against holdings can result in forced liquidations during downturns. They suggest that only individuals with sufficient financial cushion, income diversity, and experience should even consider leveraging. Debt should serve as a tool to amplify returns prudently, but not as a gambling mechanism. The financial health of a person or business depends heavily on understanding when debt is working for versus against you. The podcast expresses skepticism about the glamorization of passive income in online culture. While passive income streams exist, such as dividend stocks, rental properties, or staking cryptocurrencies, they emphasize these require upfront effort, capital, and ongoing management. There is no money without work, and most passive income turns out to be active in disguise, at least at first. In particular, property management is portrayed as far from passive, involving tenant issues, repairs, and administrative work, unless a reliable property manager is found. Even then, fees reduce yields. The conversation warns people against getting caught in fantasies promised by social media influencers and advises practical, incremental approaches to building income streams through disciplined investing and entrepreneurial effort. Patience, sacrifice, and work over years remain the only reliable paths. Financial literacy is a cornerstone of success, emphasized repeatedly in the podcast. Many people avoid engaging with their finances because of jargon, complexity, intimidation, or confidence issues. The first step towards financial independence is acquiring basic knowledge, tracking expenses, understanding investments, and grasping compound interest. The guests recommend early and continuous education, investing even small sums, failing fast, and learning quickly rather than avoiding activities out of fear. They urge listeners to build simple systems for managing money, such as monthly budgeting and automated contributions, to remove emotional decision-making. The broader financial ecosystem profits from this ignorance through high fees, poor advice, and complex products designed to confuse. Therefore, self-education is framed as empowerment to break these cycles. Towards the end, the discussion turns futuristic, considering how artificial intelligence, AI, might reshape the economy and financial systems beyond 2030. The guests foresee an economic singularity driven by robotics, AI agents, and automation that could potentially break traditional economic models reliant on human population growth and productivity. They pose that AI-driven agents will require payment systems, potentially accelerating crypto adoption as the new internet rails for value transfer. Rather than displacing humans, AI could enable new economic activities and wealth creation. But this paradigm shift calls for adaptability in investment and career strategies. Rather than being pessimistic, the group expresses optimism that technology will provide unprecedented opportunities, provided individuals prepare themselves with the right skills and financial literacy. The human element of wealth building emerges as critically important. Beyond individual skills and investments, the guests stress that the people around you profoundly affect your financial outcomes. Building and nurturing a network of ambitious, successful individuals can unlock opportunities, preferential investment access, and collaborations unavailable to the isolated individual. Notably, networking is not transactional. It thrives on genuine reciprocity, giving before taking. Many successful investors and entrepreneurs have climbed by connecting with others early, often helping when others overlooked them, and in return receiving invaluable support later. The podcast highlights stories of industry insiders who made fortunes simply by cultivating relationships, underscoring that wealth is as much about social capital as financial capital. Finally, the guests reflect on how geography influences financial opportunity. They remark that the United States remains a dominant global hub for innovation, capital accumulation, and entrepreneurial energy compared to regions like the UK or Europe, which face demographic challenges, regulatory constraints, and economic stagnation. They acknowledge that lower cost of living regions, such as parts of Latin America or Spain, provide alternatives for lifestyle arbitrage, but come with trade-offs in network and opportunity density. The UK is characterized as a shadow of its former financial glory, hindered by regulation, demographic shifts, and social attitudes discouraging risk-taking and investment. This geographic reality demands intentionality from individuals to seek not only good investments but environments conducive to growth, whether through relocation, remote work, or online community building.